eyes. We see somebody who's appealing, and so we want to begin it on that attraction and build on that attraction. But the real thing that is going to sustain the relationship is the friendship. A space for vulnerability, a space for honesty, a space where there is no shame. I can tell you this about me and you're not going to punish me. I can tell you this mistake I made. Because why do people lie? Like, people, one of the biggest things I see women like, they're so upset that, man, he lied. Because he's so afraid of what's going to happen to his truth.
Yes.
Calling all of my Black girls. Calling all of my Black girls.
Hey, y'all. See, I sit back and listen to my theme music come on in, and when I say I be rocking and like kind of bouncing in my seat and twirling and twerking and whatever, I be getting it, okay? For those that don't know, I made that beat myself. Hey, welcome to Purple's Conversations, a Black girl's conversation about faith, soul, and my opinion. Y'all, I'm so happy to talk to y'all on today. I have a great interview coming up with Miss Poet Nia Mora, aka Miss Nigeria. I met her about 3 or 4 years ago, and she just has been a great experience to have in my life, a great pleasure to experience, okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about when you listen to the interview. So, as I was doing my editing, there are a bit little fuzzy pieces in there, and I was trying to edit those pieces out, but I found that it was just really compromising the actual vocals and the words that were being said. So please excuse those little areas, which is really towards the end, but it's a great conversation. I felt that it was very rich. I felt that it was very engaging, and I just really loved a lot of the nuggets that Miss Nia Mora was dropping on us. It was like, it just had me thinking about a lot of different things. So guys, look, I hope y'all really enjoy it. If you, by the end of this conversation on social media, let me know y'all listening. Let me know that y'all have been following me since episode 1, because I really would just love to hear that you all have been rocking with me. Hey, and if you have me and listening to me on iTunes or Spotify, give me 5 stars, give me whatever the highest rating, leave a review, let me know, and let other people know how Purple Conversations is just giving you life right now, okay? So without further ado, we're going to get into the conversation, and let's see what Miss Poet Nia Mora is talking about. Thank you, guys. Love you. Alrighty. Okay. So hi, listeners. Welcome to Purple Conversations. And I'm very excited to have Miss, I know her as Nigeria because that's how I was introduced to her, but this is Poet Nia Mora. I'm just fascinated by this lady, and when I first met her, I just thought she was dope. It's not too many women that I come across that initially, like, I just think it's dope, but she's one of the ladies that I just think is dope. I like her style. I like her swag. I just like her energy. I like everything about her. So, welcome to Purple Conversations, and tell everybody about yourself.
Oh my gosh. You know, as many times I get asked this question, it always stumps me for a minute. Like, what am I supposed to say? But I am a open and loving person. I am super creative. I wish I was more creative in other kind of visual ways like you are, but I know my gifting, so I got to appreciate my gifting. Comparison is the thief of joy. So I'm a writer. Like, that is what I am in my heart and in my core being. I am a writer, and that's one moment where I often tell people you should separate yourself from what you do, but in this instance, what I do is who I am. The words are in my heart, and my heart are in my words.
Okay. So tell the people a little bit about your earlier writings before you like evolved into. I'm sure the poet has always been there, but like you have a few novels that you put out prior to going into the poet space. So tell them about that.
Yes. Okay. So before I became a poet officially, I have published two novels, one novella, and one nonfiction. So they were all Christian fiction, the Christian books. The fiction books, they were all Christian fiction. You see, they were so Christian, I said it twice. But they were basically dealing with real world issues, but also incorporating faith and the way in which we could utilize our faith as tools to combat and overcome our problems and our struggles. So I have Born at Dawn, which dealt with domestic violence and a runaway mom. I had Season with Grace, which dealt with a drug addiction and battling past demons from sexual abuse. And then Tempted to Touch dealt with a marriage that was on the rocks, all of the rocks. And then my last book, the nonfiction, Pursuing Your Passion, A Godly Passion, was created for entrepreneurs, writers, anybody dreaming and creative and Christian, and you wanted to fuse your faith with what you were, working on and trying to build. And I just covered 12 different topics that I felt like personally were super important and were a battle or struggle for me, and ways to pray about that. And it used the first prayer in the book of Nehemiah as a structure and a guideline, because there were just 4 very specific moves that he made. And after that, even though it wasn't smooth sailing, he was able to just overcome and have access and have insight and have wisdom and connect with the right people to get the job done and know what to say when they're like ready to quit. And so I was just inspired when I wrote that book, and that's my collection right there.
Yeah, and I believe I have 2 of the your fiction works, and then I know I have the journal for the entrepreneur, and I was really blessed by the entrepreneur one, and I kind of like revisit that a few times since I've purchased it. So it's really been a blessing to me. So a question that comes to mind, even as we're talking, that wasn't initially a question that I thought of, but just kind of like because I'm in a certain space in my faith right now. And I would say I used to be very traditional in my faith, and now I'm coming into a more non-traditional space in my faith right now. It's where like I still hold some values that are from like, as we call the old school way, but I think now I'm evolving into a different space where my relationship with God is a bit different, and it's more centered on serving God rather than serving the church. If that makes any sense. So
it makes absolute sense.
So I want to know where are you currently at in your faith?
I'm in the same place, and so I think that's why I was able to say it makes absolute sense, because I am in a space in which Christ came to empower us, and Christ came and opened up a door for us, and Christ came and really, while there were boundaries and there are standards that definitely come with and are part of being a Christian and upholding the faith, but at the same time, the people that he was the roughest with were the people who were supposed to know the law and were perverting it and weren't using it to help the people who needed love and needed a foundation and needed to be served. And we kind of do the reverse as Christians, and we brutalize the people who have no way of knowing what they're supposed to do, and then make it a cakewalk on some level for some of the people who are inside the church, or we really bad at the people who are in the church who need help overcoming or dealing with whatever issue they're struggling with, and they've come for this love and support and kindness, and they still can't find it because they feel so judged. And that just, while Christ is ultimately, at the end of the day, he is our judge, he was not judgmental in executing whatever sentence he had, whatever conversation he had with you. The woman who was caught in adultery, she did not leave there with a stone thrown at her.
Right.
The brother said, go your way and sin no more. Yeah, you got put out there. You wrote this. I need you to get it together, though. Okay? And that was it. If you get caught like that now, you're going to be a month of Sunday sermons devoted to you.
Okay.
And nobody wants to serve a God like that. And when you realize that, you're like, well, wait, is that God writing a sermon about me for a month, or is that the man writing a sermon about me for a month? Hold on.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I think that I've been evolving into this space for a couple of years now, but I think lately, like as of last year, is when I came into a space of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to, and don't get me wrong. I've stumbled, and I've done some things that ain't so pleasing to the Lord and finding myself in this space. But now I'm getting back on track, and it's really just about, okay, God, what is the conversation that you and I are going to have? What is the rules that you want to write on the tables of my heart? What is the life that you want me to live in like that? And I'm feeling a freedom in this space, and not so much feeling like I have to perform for, or put on this way of being for man. And not so much even the people that's in my own church in particular, just at the church world as a whole. It's like, it's like it's more so like, I don't want to have this, this outward characteristic of what a Christian is supposed to look like. I want it to really come from the inside and come forth. That's kind of like where I'm at in the space. It's like, I don't want you to teach me how to be church. I want to know from my heart, from God, how to be church, So, yeah. So I just kind of, wondered that, cause I know, we both wrote Christian fiction and things like that. And, I'm still writing Christian fiction. I got a few books that I'm actually been trying to write for a few years now, but it's totally different from where I first started. And it's like, it's really like exposing a lot of things, and it's like really, really raw. And I think a part of me is just like, ooh, I don't know how people gonna feel about this side of the church, or this, so yeah. But nevertheless, I digress from that. So, okay, so let me tell you, when I realized that you were a poet and you put, like, first of all, the cover for She's Come Undone is very stunning to me. It caught my attention right away. I'm a flower girl. I love flowers. And I was just like, oh my God, what's going on here? What is this? And it's just, I knew it was going to be dope from the moment I ordered it and supported it and things like that. So, like, tell us about the evolution into this space that you're in.
Oh, wow. Well, like you said in the beginning, I've always been a poet, and initially, like, I've always wanted to be a writer, and when I decided what I wanted to write, poetry was my original, that was my original thing. I wanted to be a poet. That's what I really wanted to do, and that's what I was doing for several years. I was doing poetry only, and part of what made me stop was when I rededicated my life to Christ, I felt like, in a way, I wasn't glorifying God in my art and in my craft as a poet. And it was also like a little bit of like a culture clash and very difficult. Poets, sometimes like we are in another world in the process of writing poetry. And that made it hard for me to connect with I don't know, soon he'll be my ex-husband, but it made it hard for me to connect with him. Let's see when this airs, but I'm manifesting, so right, my ex-husband. This made it hard for me to connect with him in ways. And so I thought, because it was so problematic, this was something I needed to put aside and put down. So I put it down for a very, very long time. And ultimately, my writing career at one point was really started taking off. And after I did the nonfiction, Becoming a Passion in a Godly Fashion, like, I was speaking and people wanted me to consult and help them. And everything was like, it was booming. And it was like, this is the time and this is the moment for the leap. And I left the girl.
I understand already.
And so it was 1 month I'm on the mountaintop and 1 month I'm in the valley. And it was just fluctuating, and I really just did not know what to do with myself. And I needed to go back to work, and I was at a place where I was like, if I have to go back to work, guess what? I'm not going to write anymore. I'm not doing no more Christian fiction. I'm not doing anything anymore because I've tried. I'm on my fourth book. I'm not getting any return. There are people out here like just writing any kind of nonsense, and they are making it, and they seem to be prospering, and this is costing me everything. It's costing me my household. It's costing me everything. So I'm not doing any kind of writing anymore. But at the same time, I still needed to express myself. So I was still like, had all these poems and had this stuff going and flowing. And I did a book fair. And at the book fair, I don't know who made this mistake, but praise be to God, they said that anybody who was vending could attend any workshop they wanted to attend while they were vending if they had no customer. The vending fee was less than the fee to register. Somebody messed up. There were New York Times authors there, bestsellers there. So I'm like planning my schedule. The first day is a poetry workshop. I go and I take it. I sat down. I made no bones about it. I didn't act like I was anybody's writer or anything. I took the workshop, participated, shared my piece, went on about my business. And later on, the instructor saw me venting. She's like, wait a minute, you're a real writer. Like, why were you in my class? And I was like, because, I've been playing with this poetry and I've been thinking about releasing a collection and I just wanted to take the class. And she said, release the collection. And so I was like, okay, well, she only read one poem. She just met me. She said, release the collection. So there's no strings attached. There's nothing here that she wants, but she's trying to get out of it or could get from it. She's not trying to big me up. She's not a friend. Just, your friends, they're supposed to tell you, go ahead, girl. Like all my friends, when I told them, I've been writing, I want to share this poetry, everybody's like, go, girl, do it. Like, she's not invested in that way either. So she's just telling me her truthful, honest, professional opinion. So from there, I was just like, I'm going to do this collection. And initially, I was just going to be an Instagram poet with no face, with no life. Like, I was just going to release the work and keep it pushing for something else happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's phenomenal. Okay, let me tell you this. Okay, so I did an earlier recording with another young lady who inspires me as well. She was a person that I had met along the way, and she evolved into this DJ. And so when I started my Purpose Conversations podcast, I knew that it was going to be a lot of me talking and just talking about different things or whatever, but I knew that I wanted to provide a richer experience for my listeners. And I was like, okay, how can I do that? Like, what else can I add to the podcast that will make it richer? And I was like, oh, okay, I can interview people that really inspire me and that really do something for me. And when I was thinking about who I should have, like, to kick off my interview sessions, you and another young lady came to mind. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because you two really inspired me to walk in the real authentic version of myself. Like with her, when I was seeing her doing her DJing and coming into this space that she's doing, it just let me know, like, okay, Ty, you need to walk in what you really want to do. Like, you're sitting around here doing all this other stuff that, yes, you're good at it, but it doesn't really feed your passion. It doesn't really work for you because it's not really what you want to do. And then also, like, when you release your poem book, I too had some poems sitting to the side that I had always wanted to kind of like show people or put out as a piece of work or whatever, but was always afraid of it because I'm not really a poet, but I do love poetry. So when you put out your work, I said, okay, if she can do it, then I should be doing it. Like, not so much as the old saying is, or if she can do it, I know I can do it. No, I feel like it's more so like if she can do it, then she's letting me know that I should be doing it too. Like, if that's the avenue that I should be walking in. And no, I'm not going to be getting up on nobody's stage reciting my poems or anything like that. But it's just something that was within me that I wanted to put forward because that was the space that I was in at the time, because I was dealing with a person, which I still deal with now, we have this on and off thing going on, but he really was the muse to that poetry at the time. And I just wanted to release it because it was very raw. It was very just like, it was just everything in my emotion. So yeah, so I just kind of wanted to make sure you know that like you really inspired me in that space, to push forward, there. So, yeah, with that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, so you speak about, okay, so you like slightly mentioned about an ex-husband. So was some of the body of work that you put within the poems, was it like your therapy in a sense for going through within your marriage, or just relationships altogether?
It's like relationships all together. I try to, and what I do write is I write what was, what is, and what I hope shall be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and it's like, I totally get that. I totally get that in the space. It's like so with relationships nowadays, when I look at relationships, even now as myself getting into relationships and just walking through the path of relationships, when I was married, I remember getting married, and I married what looked good on paper. Not to say that we didn't have love for one another, not to say that it wasn't a genuine relationship, but I know more so that I didn't marry, with the mindset, oh, this is my lover forever. I just married with the mindset, okay, will he be a good father if we have children? Will he be a good provider if we get married? Like, it was just more so like like I was looking at resumes and like, okay, who looks good on paper? Who looks like they'll be a great person for me to marry? But then now that I'm in the space of relationships, I'm all about like not putting on a representative, being completely authentically myself, showing all of me. And it's like, if you like that part of me, if you like all the versions of me, if you like my weirdness, if you like my moodiness, if you like my happy-go-lucky, whatever you see about me, if you like me and I like who you are, then let's do this. And so with what you say about relationships today, like, what's your take on things as people want to have relationship goals and all these different things? Like, what do you think about all of that?
I think that, one, I'm with you. Authenticity is the must and a primary focus, and I feel like we are not necessarily and haven't been taught that. Like, there's always been this idea that you have to groom yourself a certain way to be with this man or that man. You have to put this down. You have to cut that out. If he doesn't like that, you got to stop that. And vice versa. Like, for the men, they got to come to us in a certain way. No, you need to find the person who accepts the way that you are, and a person who is open for what you may potentially become, because no one is going to stay the same. If what you're looking for down the road is, if you're looking for forever, you're not going to be with the same person you met in the beginning at the end. Absolutely. Some of the qualities and characteristics will be the same, but that person ultimately is going to change, and so you have to be open to that change.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Like, the whole thing about, I think they say, don't marry or don't be with somebody based on their potential, but be with them based on who they are at that moment. And I believe that's that's absolutely true, because it's like you said, people evolve. We're supposed to, we're not supposed to stay the same. As every 10 years, I feel like we become a different version of ourselves.
Person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, while we still have, like you said, some of the same characteristics, but we still become a different version of ourselves. In my 20s, right now in my 30s, I'm not who I was in my 20s. I've learned some things. I've experienced some things, and now I'm in a different headspace. But then when I get in my 40s, I may be somebody else, whatever. And it's like, what do you think what's a great foundation for a relationship? In your
A great foundation in a relationship is ultimately a friendship, like a genuine friendship. And it may be hard, I think, because I know sometimes we start relationships, and sometimes we start our relationships with our eyes. We see somebody who's appealing, and so we want to begin it on that attraction and build on that attraction. But the real thing that is going to sustain the relationship is the friendship. A space for vulnerability, a space for honesty, a space where there is no shame. I can tell you this about me and you're not going to punish me. I can tell you this mistake I made. Because why do people lie? Like, one of the biggest things I see women like, they're so upset that, man, he lied. Because he's so afraid of what's going to happen to his truth.
Yes.
He's so scared. So he tells a lie to protect not just you, but himself. Because I tell you the truth, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do with that truth after that?
Yes. Like, one of my favorite things I like to say about vulnerability is people are afraid to be vulnerable because somebody prior to you mishandled that person's vulnerability. So therefore, like, they don't know, they can't like do that with another person because they're like for instance, you could tell somebody something like you just said, and then when you get into an argument and they piss you off, then you throwing it back in their face, something that they did, and it's like, they looking like, I didn't tell you that for you to throw it back in my face, or I didn't tell you that so that when you get mad at me and we on the rocks and you telling the whole world, some of my deepest, darkest secrets. It's like, we have to get back to a space where we are protective of people's vulnerabilities. And that, all across the board, men and women, women with friends, whatever, in your friendships, in your domestic friendships or domestic relationships, all the way around. Like, we have to learn to, that's why my poem book was called, Potpourri, I can't even think of my own, Purple Potpourri and Sacred Vulnerability. That's why my poem book was called that, because it's like, vulnerability to me is a sacred space that we need to operate in. So, so
it is so sacred, and when you become friends and you have that trust, and also one of those things where women want to know what's the key to his heart and what's the key. How do I get him here and there and this and that? And not that I'm any guru, but just being observant. Some of the things that we complain about men doing to us, they would never do to their friend. He's not going to lie to Charlie. If he's holding a secret back from Charlie, eventually he's like, you know what, Charlie doesn't have to pressure him to come and tell him the truth. You know what? I want to maintain this relationship with Charlie. I'm going to tell him that I slept with his baby mother. I'm going to tell him. And he comes with his truth because he wants to maintain that friendship.
Right.
So if we take a moment to be that man's friend and not, I want his heart, I want his this, I want his that, I want blah, 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 blah. But I want to be his friend because he's not going to hurt his friend.
Absolutely. And if he does hurt his friend, it's not an intentional hurt. It's not because we're human. Yeah, and we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things to people unintentionally just because we're just human. And then it's like, we all have to be mature enough to say, you know what? Let me understand the difference between somebody that's maliciously trying to hurt me and don't have my best interest at heart, or somebody that just really made an honest mistake and want to correct it. Like, we have to know how to do that. Yeah, but I love what you said. A man is not going to hurt his friend. I really love that. So you need to put that on the shirt or something. Yeah. So, as I think about relationships, even for myself, like now like I said, I'm in an on and off again type of situation, and that's okay. Like, some people look at it like, girl, you need to figure out, or you need to solidify what you all are going to do and make it like, are y'all going to be together or y'all not going to be together? And for me, it's like, I'm not in a rush in that space because I've been married before. So it's like, I would rather take my time and make sure for both parties that this is, we're both people that we want to be with for the rest of our lives and things like that. And then it's like, I'm more so focused on, okay, what is the friendship? How do we get to know each other more in this space? And it's just like, I'm just not, I used to be so ready to lock a man down. I don't feel like that so much, like, as much as I used to feel, So, I guess the question that I have when it comes to like the dating scene, or I don't know if you're even in that space at this time, but it's like in the dating world, or what advice would you give a woman that, say she's 20, like late 20s, early 30s, she's ready to get married, she's ready to be in a relationship, and she has the what can I say? Like she has, you could feel the energy of her ready to lock the relationship down, or get into that space. What advice would you say to her?
I would ask her two questions. I wouldn't necessarily give her advice, but ask her two questions, and then based on her answer, I'd probably advise her after that. But one, what does your soul need? Because really, the partners we're selecting, right, a lot of times why it can't work and it's never sustained is because we didn't meet on a soul level. And that person doesn't have what your soul needs to be sustained. That person cannot govern the city of your soul. If the marriage relationship is what God has with the church, is he what your soul needs? It might be the list your mind made, but is that your soul need?
Oh, that is a jewel right there. I like that. Okay.
And then I would ask her, is it him that she wants to marry, or does she just want to be married? Because that desire to fulfill and check off lists sometimes gets so big in front of us. A person who, like you said, looks good on paper, they show up looking like something, and you know what? Sometimes the devil will send you a distraction. Yeah. He don't have to kill you to destroy you. He just has to distract you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I'm just so, I love that. I really do love that, because it's like, I think I'm there in the space of, okay, it's about soul. It's about the passion. It's about how are you feeding me? What am I learning from you? How do you enrich my life? What have you taught me that I haven't been able to teach myself? Like, all of that. That's the space that I'm in. And then vice versa. What am I doing for you? What am I bringing into your life? How am I, enriching you? I think about the movie, for some reason, Jason's Lyric. And it's like, I love it. The one thing I always loved about the movie was that Lyric was just this kind of different type of species in their neighborhood. And while he was attracted to it, she taught him something, she taught him to think beyond. Like, it took him a while to get to the space where, I need to get us out of here. But nevertheless, she was able to be that vessel to help him to see that. And like, that's why I'm all about Black love. Like, I don't have nothing against interracial dating or anything like that. But my core to my heart is like Black love. When I think about the revolution of Black people, and we always talking about a revolution and making change and this and that. And I'm like, shoot, we can't really make a change, I feel like, until we get
Oh, yes. Until we get there, yes. Until we have love operating in its truest and its highest sense and in depth, and that we are connected. Yes. that is like absolutely true. And I have a poem in She's Come Undone that goes, I haven't performed that in a long time. I think maybe I'll bring it back into the catalog. But I have a poem that is like that because I sat down and I was writing a love poem. Like that's my specialty, I think. And I was like, dang, I'm sitting here, I'm writing this, is this nonsense? Like, there are things going on in the world probably greater than this that I need to use my art for, but then I started thinking about the ways in which Black women have been denied access to true and real love. And maybe this is my protest. This is the beginning of the revolution in demanding that I have my man back, in demanding that I have love that I'm entitled to, that I was created for, back.
Yes.
And then we change the world.
Yes, because we have to do it together. We can't do it separated. We can't do it with the man doing it on his own or the woman doing it on her own. We have to do it together. And it's like we have pockets, and I'm not a history buff to know exactly all the different times. But yes, we have pockets where we were strong in that as a Black people or Black culture, where we were strong with Black love, and then things came and, separated the men out of the homes and different things like that. But it's like, how do we make a comeback? How do we, when I look on social media and I look at the men today worry me because they are more vocal about their feelings, but yet it's still, it's still like a lack of respect there. And it's like they're hurting. They do want love. I can see that they want love. They jokingly talk about the love that they desire and how they, the women that they want to be with, but then yet they haven't separated the fact that, okay, you can't tell me you want to love me, but yet you still disrespect me all up and through your timeline. So it's like, how do we break that chain?
It has to be a ripple effect. It starts with one. Literally, it has to be one person at a time, one man at a time. There has to be, like I said, men on social media worry me. And one thing that definitely worries me are all of the men who have dating advice for women, what to do to get this man, and don't have any advice for men on how to treat, operate, and work with the woman in your life and how to be a better man and what to do when I have these conflicting feelings and emotions. How do I talk to my woman even though I'm angry right now? How do I display my anger without cussing her out or talking down and demeaning her? How do I let her know? How do I be angry but sin not?
Right.
How do I do that? And there's nobody walking them through that process. And so because of that, that's where you still get these contradictory things happening.
Right. And you know what? And as a mother raising a son, what I do with my child is the things that I catch that I feel is like, even at, my son is 8 going on 9 years old, but even in this age, there's a male ego there. It's already rising up. I can already see it. I already see the different things that he does and, to manipulate me as a woman. It's like he already understands the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy. And he already understands what he can do to have things go in his favor. So I check him. My son can do something that he's not supposed to do, and he can see me get angry about it. And then he does one of 3 things. He'll say, "Are you mad at me?" And, as a mother, your child asks you that, and then you try to, sometimes some mothers, I don't know about all mothers, but I know me, sometimes that natural mother in me is like, I don't want to say, yeah, I'm mad at you, whatever. But then I'm like, nope. yes, I am mad at you. And this is why I'm mad at you. And it's like, I break it down to him. You did X, Y, Z. So, therefore I have a right to be mad at you for what you did, but I'm going to get over it, or whatever. Or he'll do something like want to come and try to kiss me, to get me to distract me from what he did. And I'll tell him right off the bat, that's manipulation. Don't do that. You're trying to emotionally manipulate me so that I won't chastise you for the thing that you've done. And I feel like it's important for me to cultivate that into him now so that when he get older, he doesn't become a womanizer. A lot of these mothers, they're in denial about who their sons are, but not understanding that you helped enable it. And so I think part of changing the culture and part of, revolution, doing that with Black love is the mothers telling you, getting your sons in order. When you see some things that they're doing, check that, check that behavior, check who they are so that when they grow up, they can have meaningful relationships and they're not emotionally abusive, because a lot of men are emotionally abusive, and some of them don't even know that they do
that they're doing it. Yes, because it is such a regular and commonplace practice in all the relationships they've had with women or all the relationships that they've witnessed.
Right.
Because sometimes we're not conscious of the impact that kids just seeing certain things is not necessarily about you saying, do this, don't do that, X, Y, and Z. But the things that they see that you've accepted, that also becomes a pattern or a blueprint or the lack thereof. So if I don't see emotional stability and I don't see something healthy, like it's hard to mimic a behavior or create a behavior that you've never seen. Why do babies learn how to walk? Because they see everybody around them walking.
Right.
So if I don't see people having healthy, open, honest conversations about their feelings, if I don't see consequences connected to some of the misgivings, what's my expectation or how do I create those boundaries? How do I behave as a man?
Right. Like even today, my son had a meltdown because he just had a really bad day at school and it was a bad day. So, he was just like, I don't want to be here in this world. I don't want to be here. It'll be just better if I wasn't here. And so as a mother, you don't want to hear your child talk like that. But I'm like, okay, let me challenge this. And some psychology person probably be like, I probably handled this the wrong way. But I just said, hey, I said, oh, so you want to die? Do you want to kill yourself? Do you not want to be here? He was like, no, that's not what I meant. Okay, so don't say that, because if that's not what you mean, don't put that out in the air. Just say, okay, today, mommy, I had a really rough day. Today was not that great. I'm not feeling the best and I'm not in the best mood right now. But don't do that, because I'm like, you get me into an emotional space, and then now I'm not addressing the real issue. I'm just trying to coddle you out of this space of thought pattern that you're having. That's just the way I look at it, So, but a lot of kids don't grow up with somebody helping them figure out what those emotions are. It's just a coddling of, okay, well, let me coddle this child through this. And then they get out in the real world and then they don't know how to handle things. And then that's how men and women too, because women, we can do some stuff too, but that's how we get out in the real world. And then we mess people up because we were never taught or we never learned how to deal with ourselves.
Yes, and it's because we also get taught like these two different ways of being, and it's not communicated, properly. But the real subtext of it is, for women, we're taught we have to manipulate the situation so we can get the man. Men are taught to manipulate the situation so they can keep the woman.
Yeah,
and nobody's taught how to be honest so we can come together and we can both stay together.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit and just talk about you in the performance space with your poems. Because I really just want to highlight that because, people can go on your social media and just kind of see just how you rock it. Like, it's just like, okay, it's just the bravery, I think, not even so much the bravery, because I don't even think I want to use that word, but it's just like, it's amazing to me to just go on your timeline on Instagram and just really see you just doing your thing. So what is that experience like with you, either whether you're doing your street performances or you're in whatever event space, like what is that experience like for you?
In a way, it's like, it's kind of church for me. It's praise, it's worship, it's passion, it's purpose. It's everything that is happening there, all at once. Like once I'm there, I'm grateful to God to be in that space. I'm grateful to God for the people who are there. Then I speak to them, I exchange with them, I share with them, and then I'm grateful that I've been received. And then when you have moments where someone comes and like tells you how moved they are, how much it touched them, it's absolutely amazing. I don't even think I know how to describe what's happening all in that moment. I know that I almost missed that moment, and I definitely have to thank my friend Jaime, who he knew me when I was a poet. And then I left it, and then I came back to it. And when I said I was just going to be on Instagram posting my poems, he was like, absolutely not. Like, you should be performing. You're supposed to perform. Like, you should perform. And I said I couldn't. I can't do it. I have too much to do. I'm returning to work. I got the kids. I got this. I got that. And he said, whatever I can do to help you, I will. But you should perform. And literally, maybe a week or 2 weeks after that conversation, I said, okay, I'm going to perform. If you're going to support me, I'm going to perform. I got my first paying performance. Like, the first performance I got booked for was a paid performance. And it was like, oh, okay, maybe I am supposed to perform. And so then there's this gratefulness that, there are some people who are performing for years before they get invited somewhere to perform, and they're paid.
Yeah, I just think it's your it's like your charisma. You have like this charisma. You are magnetic. It's like, I think like that's just like, God just made you to be in that space to do that. Because I always like to say that just because we are Christians doesn't mean that our entire life, everything that we talk about has to be from a spiritual perspective and preaching to people, because we can preach to people from our natural lives, because we all, at the end of the day, it's a balance that must take place in our lives, as we are living in space. And I think that's what I struggled with too. It's like, how do I still be a Christian, but yet do all of these creative things? So I totally related to you when you said, when you renewed your faith in God, like you felt like, oh, I can't do the poetry and be in church too. But now it's like, no, God doesn't require that. God said, hey, live your life. Just make sure you're being guided by me. That's how I feel. That's what he thinks.
Yes, and I agree, and I think, and I've had an experience in a way that I haven't really, had when my whole entire career was devoted to, and in a way, like my career still is. Like, you cannot read my poetry and not know that I'm Christian, even though I'm not writing, the second coming of the Psalm. You can't read it and not know that I'm talking about the God that is Christ. Like, you can't miss it there. It's still there. It's still inherent. It's still there. But when I was just writing for this Christian audience, I wasn't getting the reception and the openness and the support, and not just, of course, Christian people, we're good for supporting, like patting on the back and saying things, but stepping out and doing and having that understanding. I think it's in Romans where he says, like, when you are comforting the person, you need to meet their natural needs, not just their spiritual needs. Otherwise, like, they don't need God. Like, if he's hungry, but all he's got from is the word, he's still hungry.
Right.
So what's he going to do with the word? And so I was getting great reception. I was getting a lot of prayers, but I wasn't going or getting anything else I needed to sustain my career. And in that moment, though, as I became a poet, and doors opened up for me, connections, things just happened. And I didn't have to do a single thing. I could post a post and get invited to shows for a whole month. Like, things were just happening. And I was like, you know, man, I know. When he said, I went to my own and they didn't receive me. Or whoever will, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I have gone, and I have played with women in other areas. I have worked with and what the work I learned to be able to do in a Christian space that I couldn't do, I can do now, and in a way that is fulfilling. And I'm not frustrated, and I'm not like pulling my hair out and trying to figure out how is I'm going to make this work, and praying at the same time. And I think in this moment now, this is the most like faith-led work that I really actually have been doing, because the other times it was faith, frustration, and me making up plans and doing this and doing that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I got a plan and sometimes I don't have a plan. Wherever God's going to take me in this moment, that's where he's going to take me. Whoever has to come is going to come. And I'm going to get fed. The bird that's going to come in the wilderness and feed me is coming. And that's it. And I'm just going. I'm just going.
Right. And let me tell you what my turning point was. At one day, I was sitting in my house and I was reading my Bible, and I was reading the Gospels, and I was just reading them, and I couldn't understand, like, okay, God, why you got me reading the Gospel? Not to say that there's something wrong with it, but it was just like, it was this particular season in my life where all I was doing was reading the Gospels. And then one day I was like, wait a minute. When Jesus came to preach, he used parables, because that was the way he knew that he was going to get the people to understand what he was saying. And even though some people still didn't understand fully, but yet and still, he used a natural examples to help the people understand why he came, what the kingdom of God is, what's going to happen on this earth, what you should be doing with your life, all of those different types of things. And I said, okay, well, if Jesus used something natural to get the people's attention, it's not wrong for me to do a natural thing to get people's attention. And if you listen very closely to some of the things that I'm saying, you can tell that what I'm telling you or what I'm preaching to you or what I'm trying to show you is rooted and grounded in the word, because it's basically just a paraphrasing of the word that's in my heart, you know? So, yeah. So it's like, I think we get it twisted in the church space sometimes, where we unconsciously or, make people feel like once you get into the church, the rest of your life is just over. That's how I felt, at least. That's how I interpreted things. And, I ain't blaming nobody, but that's just how I interpreted it. And I ain't the only one that interpreted it like that, So.
Yes, so if there's a mass misinterpretation, it might be a massive error in the lesson. Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's like,
absolutely correct. Yeah. Like, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yes. So, this has been a great conversation. I could go on and on and on, but I always like to end it to just say, okay, what do you want to, like, this is like the floor. You at Madison Square Garden, you get to tell the masses something. Like, what do you want the people to know?
Ooh, wow. That's a tough one. I've been getting hit with tough questions lately. What do I want the people to know? I want the people to know, and I want the people to understand the real power that God has placed inside of us. the real access to the world that he has given us. And we've been taught to shrink so much to fit in the world, and we are not of this world, and we really have the power to make this world work and run if only we would tap into that actual spirit base that is inside of us. God said to the disciples that if they tell this mountain to move, it's going to move. This tree is going to be cast in the midst of the sea. If you say that, it doesn't say if we go and ask God to say it for us, that it's going to move. But that if we say it, it will move. And I don't think we really believe that yet. And I don't think we really have opened up and unlocked the real potential for having the word at work in our lives, which means the word has to be at work in our mouth.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. That gave me chills. Yeah. So I thank you. I really do. I thank you for joining me this evening as we record for today.